June 14th, 1961, Langley, Virginia. Inside a windowless conference room at CIA headquarters, 6 men sit around a polished oak table. The air conditioning hums. Someone coughs. A projector clicks on, casting a pale blue rectangle onto the far wall. And then, without ceremony, a veterinary surgeon stands up and says the words that will launch one of the strangest operations in American intelligence history. "Gentlemen, we can wire a cat." The room stays quiet. Outside, it's a humid summer morning. Inside, the Cold War is grinding through its second decade, and the Soviet Union is winning. They're ahead in the space race, their missiles can reach American cities, and their diplomats, walking freely through Washington parks and embassy gardens, are impossible to bug. Every phone tap gets discovered, every hidden microphone gets swept. The Technical Services Division has tried everything. Fake rocks, hollowed out trees, agents posing as gardeners. Nothing works. So now, they're talking about cats. The surgeon explains it carefully. A cat, he says, can go anywhere. No one suspects a cat. You can't arrest a cat for trespassing. A cat wandering through a park, rubbing against a bench where 2 Soviet officials are talking, that's just a cat being a cat. Except this cat would have a microphone surgically implanted in its ear canal, a radio transmitter in its skull, and a thin wire antenna woven into its tail. One of the men at the table asks the obvious question. Can you actually do that? Can you cut open a living animal, install electronics, and have it survive? The surgeon nods. They've done preliminary tests. It's possible. Another question, will it work? Will the audio be clear? They think so. The technology is there. Miniaturized transmitters, battery packs small enough to fit inside a cat's body. The signal strength should reach a receiver parked half a block away. The last question hangs in the air for a moment before anyone asks it. But will the cat cooperate? And that's where the whole thing should have stopped. That's where someone should have stood up and said, "This is insane." Because anyone who has ever lived with a cat knows the answer. Cats don't cooperate. They don't follow commands. They don't care about your schedule or your mission parameters or your geopolitical objectives. A cat does exactly what it wants, when it wants, and nothing you do will change that. But this is 1961. The Cold War is cold because it can't go hot without ending the world, so intelligence agencies are trying everything. Spy planes, satellites, truth serums, psychics. And if the Soviets get the bomb to Cuba, if they position missiles 90 miles from Florida, if they win this thing because American intelligence couldn't hear what their diplomats were saying in a public park, well, that's unacceptable. So they approve it. Operation Acoustic Kitty gets a budget, gets a team, gets a green light. They start with one cat, a young male, gray and white, bought from a local shelter for $15. He doesn't have a name in any of the declassified documents. He's just the subject. The scientists take him to a veterinary lab. They shave his fur, they mark the incision points with a surgical pen, and on a morning in late summer, they put him under anesthesia and begin. The surgery takes 5 hours. They open his ear canal first, installing a tiny microphone no bigger than a pencil eraser. Then they cut into his skull, creating a small cavity for the transmitter. The battery pack goes near his spine, where there's enough room between muscle and bone. The hardest part is the antenna. It has to run the length of his tail without breaking, without causing infection, without making the tail so stiff that other cats or trained observers would notice something wrong. The surgeon works carefully, stitching, sealing, testing connections. When it's done, they close him up, layer by layer, and wait for him to wake up. He does. 3 hours later, groggy and confused, the cat opens his eyes. The equipment is inside him now, part of him. $20 million worth of research and development, plus 5 years of trial and error, all embedded in one annoyed animal who has no idea what just happened. They keep him in recovery for 2 weeks, monitoring his vitals, making sure the implants aren't rejected, making sure he can still walk, eat, use the litter box. He can. The surgery was a success. Now comes the hard part. Now they have to train him. The training facility is a converted warehouse in Virginia, 20 minutes from Langley. Inside, they've built what they call the environment. Park benches, patches of grass, fake trees, a paved walkway. They're trying to recreate the places where Soviet diplomats meet. The parks, the outdoor cafes, the public spaces where secrets get traded in whispers. The cat doesn't care about any of it. They start simple. Food motivation, that's the foundation of all animal training. You put food where you want the animal to go, and eventually the animal learns to go there. So they place a bowl of tuna 20 feet away from the cat's starting point, right next to one of the park benches. They release him. They wait. He walks 6 feet, sits down, and starts licking his paw. They try again the next day. Same setup, fresh tuna. The cat walks in the opposite direction, finds a sunny spot near the fake tree, and takes a nap. The handlers adjust their approach. Maybe tuna isn't motivating enough. They try salmon, chicken, liver. They try different times of day, thinking maybe he's more cooperative in the morning. They try voice commands, hand signals, everything the CIA's animal behavior specialists can think of. Nothing works. One of the senior officers visits the facility after 3 months of failed attempts. He watches the cat ignore a perfect piece of grilled chicken placed exactly where they need him to go. He watches the cat wander off, investigate a corner, and start scratching at the wall, and he asks the question everyone's been avoiding: can we steer him remotely? The technicians explain very patiently that no, they cannot install a remote control system in a cat's brain. That's not how neurology works. That's not how animals work. The cat has free will. He makes his own decisions. The equipment they've installed can record what he hears, but it can't control where he goes or what he does. The officer doesn't like that answer. Neither does anyone else, because they're already 18 months into this project. They've already spent millions, and the Soviets are still having conversations in parks that no one can hear. So they keep trying. They bring in a new trainer, a woman who worked with service dogs for the military. She watches the cat for one afternoon and delivers her assessment. "He's not broken," she says. "He's just a cat. Cats don't work like dogs. They don't want to please you. They don't care if you're happy or sad or desperate. You can't train a cat to go somewhere on command. You can only hope he decides to go there on his own." The team doesn't want to hear that either. They decide the problem is focus. The cat gets distracted too easily, so they try to train him to ignore distractions. They introduce noises, other animals, movement, anything that might pull his attention away from the mission. It makes things worse. Now the cat is interested in the distractions. He spends 20 minutes watching a pigeon they brought in for distraction training. He completely ignores the target area where they need him to go. By month 6 of training, the behaviorists are arguing with each other. One camp thinks they need to start over with a different cat. Maybe this one is uniquely stubborn. Maybe they just got unlucky. The other camp thinks the problem isn't the cat, it's the approach. They need to rethink the entire operation. The project director makes a decision. They've come too far to quit. The surgery worked, the equipment works, the audio quality is crystal clear when they test it in the lab. They just need the cat to walk 20 feet and sit near a conversation. How hard can that be? So they move forward. They schedule a field test, but first they need to prepare him for the real world. Up until now, the cat has lived in controlled environments: the lab, the recovery room, the training warehouse. He's never been outside, never felt wind, never heard traffic, never encountered actual strangers. They take him to a park, not a Soviet park, just a regular American park in suburban Virginia, a trial run. They put him in a carrier, drive him there, and release him near a bench. 2 agents sit on the bench, pretending to have a conversation. The cat is supposed to approach them. He doesn't. He freezes, crouches low, his ears flattened against his head. There's too much stimulus, too many sounds, too many smells. A dog barks somewhere across the park and the cat bolts. He runs 15 feet up a tree and won't come down for 40 minutes. When they finally retrieve him, one of the handlers says what everyone's thinking: "This isn't going to work." But the project director doesn't want to hear it. They've spent 4 years on this, 4 years of surgery and training and equipment development. The Cold War isn't slowing down. The Soviets aren't getting easier to spy on. And somewhere up the chain of command, someone is asking for results. So they scheduled the real operation, the actual field test. Washington, D.C., a park where Soviet intelligence officers are known to meet. They'll put the cat near the target, they'll have receivers ready, and if everything goes right, if the cat just walks 20 feet and sits down, they'll finally have audio of a conversation no American has ever heard before. They pick a date, a Tuesday morning in June. Clear weather, low wind, perfect conditions. They load the cat into a carrier, they drive him into the city, and at 9:17 a.m., on a quiet street 1 block from the park, they open the carrier door. The cat steps out onto the sidewalk, and then everything goes wrong. The cat hesitates on the sidewalk. He's disoriented. The carrier ride was 20 minutes of bumps and turns and engine noise. Now he's standing on concrete he's never felt before, surrounded by sounds he's never heard. Car engines, footsteps, someone's radio playing 3 buildings down. A bus hisses to a stop at the corner. The two agents who released him are already walking away. That's the protocol. You can't stand there watching a cat. That looks suspicious. Soviet counter-surveillance teams are good at spotting watchers. So the agents split up, heading in opposite directions, trying to look like normal pedestrians going about their day. One of them has the receiver. It's hidden in a panel van parked half a block away, disguised as a telephone repair truck. Inside, a technician sits with headphones on, listening to static, waiting for the signal, waiting for the cat to move toward the park, toward the bench, where two Soviet officials are scheduled to meet in 8 minutes. The cat takes 3 steps forward, then stops. Across the street, morning traffic moves steadily. Sedans, a delivery truck, a taxi with its off-duty light on, heading back to the depot. Normal city rhythm, nothing unusual. The cat's ears swivel. He's processing everything at once. The surgery healed months ago, but the equipment is still there. The microphone, the transmitter, the antenna running through his tail. Right now, the technician in the van is hearing everything the cat hears. Amplified, transmitted, a cacophony of urban noise. The cat sits down. This isn't what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to walk north, 50 feet to the park entrance. Another 30 feet to the bench. Simple, direct. But he's a cat, and cats don't follow scripts. He starts grooming himself. In the van, the technician mutters something under his breath. He can hear the licking sounds through the headphones. Loud, wet, incredibly clear audio quality, completely useless for espionage. One of the agents, now positioned near a newsstand, glances back. The cat is still on the sidewalk, still grooming. The Soviet officials will arrive at the park in 6 minutes. If the cat doesn't move soon, the whole operation is blown. 5 years, $20 million. All of it wasted because a cat decided to clean his paws. The agent can't do anything, can't call out, can't make a noise, can't gesture. You can't command a cat in the middle of a covert operation without compromising everything. So he waits. The cat finishes grooming, stands up, takes 2 steps toward the park, then changes his mind. He turns 90 degrees and starts walking parallel to the street. Wrong direction, completely wrong. He's heading away from the target area, toward a narrow alley between 2 buildings. The technician in the van reports this over the radio. Quiet, clipped, professional. Subject is off course, moving east. In a car 2 blocks away, the project director receives the update. He closes his eyes. 4 years of his career have gone into this moment. 4 years of defending this program to skeptics. 4 years of insisting that yes, actually, you can turn a cat into a surveillance device. And now, the cat is wandering toward an alley. Back on the sidewalk, the cat pauses again. Something has caught his attention. A smell, maybe, or a sound. Impossible to know. He sniffs the air. His tail, stiffened slightly by the antenna inside it, twitches. And then, he steps off the curb. It happens fast. The taxi driver doesn't see him. How could he? He's watching traffic, checking his mirror, thinking about breakfast. The cat is small, gray and white, low to the ground. Just another stray in a city full of strays. The cat is in the street for less than 2 seconds. The taxi hits him at 20 miles per hour. There's no screech of brakes, no dramatic skid, just a dull thump. A sound you might not even notice if you weren't paying attention. The kind of sound that happens in cities every day. The taxi doesn't stop. The driver probably doesn't even know what he hit. Maybe he thinks it's a pothole. Maybe he feels a small bump and keeps going, merging into traffic, continuing toward the depot. The cat's body rolls twice and comes to rest near the gutter. The technician in the van hears it all. The sudden burst of noise, the impact, the scraping sound. Then silence. The transmission cuts out. No heartbeat, no breathing, just dead air and static. He pulls off the headphones, sits there for a moment, then keys the radio. Subject is down. Repeat, subject is down. The agent near the newsstand sees it. He's too far away to do anything, but he sees the shape in the street, small, motionless. He knows immediately what happened. He doesn't run over, can't. The Soviets are arriving at the park right now. If he breaks cover to check on a dead cat, it compromises the entire surveillance setup, other operations, other agents. So he stays where he is, buys a newspaper, walks away. The project director gets the report 3 minutes later. His first response is silence, long, heavy. Then he asks the only question that matters for the paperwork. Did we recover the equipment? They did. An asset retrieved the body 20 minutes later, placed it in a bag, drove it back to Langley. The autopsy happens that afternoon. The equipment is intact. Everything still works. A microphone, the transmitter, the antenna. 5 years of surgical innovation, still functional, inside a cat that lived less than 3 minutes in the field. The official report is filed 2 weeks later. Dry, clinical, no emotion. It states the facts. The subject was released at 9:17 a.m. The subject expired at 9:19 a.m. due to vehicular impact. Mission parameters were not achieved. Cost analysis attached. $20 million. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $200 million in today's money. All of it spent to learn something that anyone with a cat could have told them for free. You can't control a cat. The meeting happens 3 days later. Same conference room where this whole thing started. Different people at the table. The project director is there, so is his supervisor, and 2 levels above him, a deputy director who wants answers. The report sits in the middle of the table. 43 pages, appendices, cost breakdowns, technical specifications, photographs of the equipment. Everything except a photograph of the cat. The deputy director reads it in silence. Takes him 12 minutes. When he finishes, he sets it down and looks up. 5 years, he says. Nobody responds. $20 million. Still nothing. And the cat walked into traffic. The project director starts to explain the variables, the unpredictable nature of field operations, the fact that the technology itself was successful, the audio quality was perfect, the surgery was groundbreaking, they proved it could be done. They just need to refine the training protocols. Maybe start with kittens, raise them from birth in controlled environments, condition them earlier. The deputy director holds up one hand, stops him. No, he says, that's it. Just no. We're done with cats. This project is over. There's a longer conversation after that. Questions about what to do with the research, the surgical techniques they developed, the miniaturization breakthroughs. Some of that technology will get repurposed, used in other programs, actual useful programs that don't involve animals with free will. But Operation Acoustic Kitty is finished. They write it up, classify everything, lock the files away. And for the next 40 years, almost nobody knows this happened. The scientists move on to other projects. The handlers go back to training dogs, which actually works. The project director takes early retirement 2 years later. The files stay classified until 2001. That's when the CIA declassifies a batch of Cold War documents as part of a routine review. Some historian going through the papers finds Operation Acoustic Kitty buried in there. Reads it again, thinks it must be a joke. It's not. The story breaks in the press, first as a curiosity, a weird footnote to Cold War history. Then it spreads. Late-night talk show hosts make jokes, comedians write bits. The internet, still young in 2001, passes it around like a legend. Except it's not a legend, it's real. It happened. The United States government really did spend $20 million to turn a cat into a spy. The public reaction is what you'd expect. Laughter, mostly. Disbelief, some anger about the waste of money. Animal rights groups are horrified by the surgery. Historians add it to the list of bizarre Cold War programs, right alongside the psychic spy experiments and the heart attack gun. But there's something else in the reaction too, something quieter, a kind of recognition. Because Operation Acoustic Kitty isn't really about cats. It's about what happens when desperation meets bureaucracy. When smart people with unlimited resources convince themselves that the impossible is just difficult. When the fear of losing becomes so overwhelming that any idea, no matter how absurd, starts to sound reasonable. The Cold War was full of programs like this. Projects that made sense in the moment, in the bunker, in the classified briefing, when you're staring at maps of Soviet missile sites and trying to figure out how to survive the next decade, when the other side is doing things you can't predict or counter, when the stakes are literally the end of the world. In that context, wiring a cat doesn't sound crazy. It sounds creative, innovative, outside-the-box thinking. It's only afterward, when the cat is dead and the money is spent and the files are declassified, that you can see it clearly. See how the logic twisted itself into knots, how the warning signs got ignored, how everyone involved kept pushing forward because stopping would mean admitting they'd been wrong from the beginning. The cat couldn't tell them any of this. He was just a cat, bought from a shelter for $15, subjected to 5 hours of surgery, trained for months in a warehouse, released onto a sidewalk in Washington, D.C., where he did exactly what cats do. He walked where he wanted, stopped when he wanted, and crossed a street without looking both ways. The Cold War kept going for another 3 decades after Operation Acoustic Kitty ended. The The CIA found other ways to spy on the Soviets, better ways: human agents, signal intelligence, satellite photography, all the normal methods that actually work. And somewhere in a filing cabinet at Langley, the official report still exists, stamped, sealed, a 43-page testament to one of the strangest failures in intelligence history. The last line of the report, buried in the conclusion section, might be the most honest thing anyone wrote during the entire program. The work done on this problem over the years reflects great credit on the personnel who guided it, particularly because the final result seemed to be very disappointing, if not actually a failure. That's government language for, "We tried, it didn't work, please don't ask us about it again." They never did try it again. No cats, no dogs, no birds. The CIA learned its lesson. Some things, no matter how much money you spend or how advanced your technology gets, just can't be done. You can't turn a cat into a spy, because a cat will always be a cat.